Hi, my name is Yurii Kolontai. I'm a beginner 3D artist, and in this video I will guide you through the process of how I model and texture the skateboard. So let's get started. But before I even open a 3D software, I start with getting the references of model I wanna make. Most important is to find good photos of its parts like trucks, wheels and so on. And after that, I look for photos of damages. This kind of skateboards are used for making tricks, so I really want to make a believable wearing on a deck. Also, I look for models from other people. This helps me see pros and cons of my potential model. In case of a skateboard, I notice that many people miss the shape of a deck and making nose and tail bend up, but not making side of a deck bend up too. This is why I can find some artworks that have a beautiful textures but wrong basic forms. And just so you know, I spent like an entire day searching for references and just learning about skateboards. And all of that I did because I want my skateboard to look pretty realistic. And I don't have a real skateboard in front of me because I'm not a skateboard guy. I mean, I wish I was, but roads in Ukraine never let me ride on them. Bruh. After I'm done with gathering all the references, it was time for me to start modeling. First I made an image plane for top and side view in Maya. Then I made a cube with size of real skateboard. Adjust the height, delete one side of a board since it's symmetrical, we need only one part. Bevel the edges, now it's round. So modeling for a board was kinda easy, just follow shape of the image, then in sub-D mode add few more loops, more vertices, so they follow the image, and that was it for a board. Then I moved to the trucks, and I don't know why, but I was so worrying about the board that I didn't think about trucks, when in reality it was the hardest part. First I made draft version of base plate and began working on hanger. To be honest, it wasn't so hard, starting from cylinder and follow the image, extrude the faces and move vertices, so they follow the image. I didn't want to make any existing trucks, so I took things I like from few different trucks and modeled something that looked like it really exists. After I'm happy with the shape, I added few edge loops, clean up where it's needed, and yeah, my hypothesis looks okay, so I moved to the next part. As you already guessed, the whole process of modeling is quite monotone, so I think there is no need for me to comment on everything. Plus, it's not a step-by-step tutorial, but a breakdown of my process, so let's just move to the next stage. The next stage was making a low poly, and since I was doing it for myself without any poly counts, I just remove all the edge loops, optimize cylinders, and in general, clean up as much as I can but keep my shape as close to original. And yeah, that was all what I did for a low poly. Next stage, UVs. For texture size, I decided to use 1024 by 1024 resolution. It can fit all my elements with good textile density and there is no need to make it bigger. So I first unwrap the board and the textile there is around 12.5, which is more than enough. Usually when I'm doing UVs, my workflow is quite simple. Choose the part you want to unwrap, make a camera-based projection, then go over all edges that need to be cutted, cut them, unfold shelves, in arrange and layout choose orient shelves, straighten shelf if they need it. Now you can lay out your elements into one square, so when you unwrap all your model, you will lay out entire section rather than shelves. This way you will know that shelves of one object are near each other. Also, for all elements except board, I've doubled textiles since everything else is much smaller than a board. It actually makes sense to make those elements bigger on texture. And when I'm happy with my layout, the last thing to do is overlaps. Right now, overlapping elements are lying on top of each other. That's not okay. Every overlap should be on their own UV square. Here you can see how I did it on my model. After that, we are ready to go. Baking. Baking was kinda easy. I made a bunch of baking groups so my cages doesn't intersect. But to make my normal, it need to be fixed in Photoshop. just take a smudge tool and go over UVs that have artifacts on edges, usually it's cylinders. And see how good that we straight all our UVs. Now we can fix those things just in a few seconds. When I'm happy with my normals, we need to fix ambient occlusion in Photoshop. As you remember, we have a lot of overlaps on our texture. Select part with AO and copy it to place where AO is missing. Now we can bake the rest of the maps and move to texturing. First thing that I noticed after exporting my model to Substance Painter is that I can't rotate my light to lit my bottom part of the deck. I don't know if it can be fixed in Substance Painter, but what I come up with, in Maya I duplicate my model and rotate in 180 degrees and export both of them in one file. For the base of my board I use wood walnut material, change the color of my material and rotate it 90 degrees. Then I made a fill layer, apply blue noise fast to height and roughness, make a color of it more black, like on a reference. Add a black mask to a layer and select top polygons. Continue working on a grip. I change the scale of pattern, make it smaller. Then I add levels, one for roughness, one for height. The goal was to make parts that pop out shy while the rest of the grip is raw. After I'm done, I work with the mask. I really wanted to make my skateboard look like it was in use, and after playing with brushes, I got this result that I think is look pretty good. Last thing to make my grip look sexy is to add wearing from the feet on the grip. Create a new layer, enable everything except height, and changing blending mode to replace. Create a black mask and copy the mask that we already used for a grip. Invert it. Now if I add paint and try to paint, we are adding wearings. But it looks bad. First adjust height, then enable roughness and add grunge. I choose grunge dirt scratchy. Adjust it a little bit, and the last thing I create one more fill layer with only color, added a grunge to it and choose blending mode to multiply. So my grip was done and I moved to print. Just to make it clear, I'm not an illustrator, so for a print I decided to choose an existing one. Let me just look for a print in Google, and oh my, I was looking for copper, but I found gold. To be honest, I don't know if I'm allowed to use this print, because I'm basically stealing it, but hey, I'm using it for non-commercial use, so it shouldn't be a problem, yeah, right? Import image to Substance Painter and in the new fill layer, put it into color, select Nope in UV Warp and scale the image to the size of a board. Now let's give it a little bit of height and roughness. I decided to go with Grunge Leaks 30, as always use levels to tweak my roughness. Adding black mask and start work on wearing. I added fill to my mask and use Grunge Scratches Raw, invert it and tweak it till I get the result I like. Then I add paint to my mask and go over the edges. Approach is similar to what I did with the grip. Now let's add wearing from jumping and doing other skateboard stuff that I don't know. Start with making holes in print, add scratches with different brushes. Also made another wood layer, made it a little bit lighter, lower on height and draw some scratches with it. At this moment I was mostly experimenting, adding different scratches, dirts and so on. Then I made a line on the side of a deck and that was it for a board. Few more things left. The way I did trucks is first I made the metal layer. On top of it I create a paint layer with some small color variation and add wearing on edges. And for wearing from sliding on hanger, I use the same technique I use for a board. For wheels I use plastic pure made with Grunge Rough Dirty on top of it and anisotropic noise for scratches from rolling. Last things before we finish, first I add sticker using tutorials from Fast Tech Tutorial, you can find link to this video in the description. Then I add writings and on top of everything I added some dirt, just use dirt generator for it. And that's it, I hope this video was handy, and if so, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, for more renders of this skateboard you can visit my ArtStation page. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!